working our way through the Gospel of Mark. And we've been hearing each week Jesus teaching, and teaching is to his disciples and those who are following him. And today we hear that he wants to get away and he wants to just teach his inner circle. And as he's on his way, something happens with his disciples. They start to argue. All I can think of is children, they start to push and shove, me first, me first, me first. Here they are arguing who's first, who's going to be the best, which one Jesus loves the most. Who is it? They think they're being sneaky. They think Jesus is not hearing them. But when they get there, Jesus calls them out. So what were you arguing about? Me? Arguing? Oh, I wasn't arguing. I can just hear it now, can't you? Oh, it was all him. Oh, no, it was James. Oh, no, it was him. They were arguing about who would be first. Jesus reaches out to a little child and says that we have to be like children in order to enter, and that those who are last will be first, and those who are first will be last. What? That's not the way it works. I've been in school before, and I've seen that you get in the front of the line and you get served first. But Jesus is saying, no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It's also really important for us to remember that in the time that Jesus is preaching, in that culture, children were less than livestock. Livestock had a value on them. They could sell them. They could eat them. They helped provide for their family. But children were something that many people thought were just, they can be discarded. Not like our eyes today, where we value children. Although recently, it makes me wonder how much we are valuing our children, with the story of little Jordan, who was killed by his mother and by others who've been abused by their parents. But in this time, in this day and age that Jesus is talking, he tells them that this child, this one that society doesn't even count, that society walks past, that society sees as not having any value, is precious to God, is precious in the kingdom, goes first. Talk about turning the world upside down. That goes against everything that they have ever been taught. Everything. That those who do not have voices for themselves, those who are not seen as having value in society, those are the ones that God has come for and God places first. I've been helping my children study history, and we got to the part where we hear the famous line, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." I've been thinking about that, and I think that that is a line that we need to adopt here in the church, but we need to change it a little bit. Ask not what the church can do for me, but what I can do for the church. I read an article several years ago from the pastor who started Willow Creek. Willow Creek was a gigantic church, huge church, that started the first really big, successful mega church. They were so big that they would have big tour buses come in and drop people off. They had a gigantic stage, and they had professional actors that would act out the Gospels, and they had professional singers who would sing, and people came, and they were entertained, and they had beautiful, wonderful cafeterias where you could eat. It was like going to this wonderful festival every single Sunday, and people came far and wide to listen and to enjoy and to be thrilled. But then the pastor said after several years, I apologize. I apologize for what I did in that church because I created disciples who were givers, takers, and not givers. I did not touch their hearts. Instead, I entertained. I gave them a show. I told them how wonderful things were. But to be a disciple of Christ is not to take, but to give. It's not to be entertained, to be thrilled, to be wowed with lights. It is to roll up your sleeves, to reach out to those that you would normally walk past. It's to say, I am the church, and as the church, I will be the servant to those who are in need. The church is the place where we remember that all of us has worth. It is the place where we come and we ask, what can I do, Lord, to help make the Gospels alive and living in this world? What can I do, Lord, to serve you, to be your disciple? What ministries can we do together that reach out to those and let them know that they are loved, that they are accepted, that they matter, that they are children of God, that they have a purpose? What ministries can we do that answers the question, what can I do for the church? Not what the church can do for me. I think a lot of times we do think about what we love about the church. You know, when I think about the things that I loved about my home church, of course it was community. It was the yearly big yard sale that we did where everyone got together. It was the roast beef suppers where we worked side by side. But when I think about it, what were the things that really mattered? It was the youth group going out and raking the leaves of our senior citizens who could not do it. It was the youth group and the members of the church going and splitting wood for those who heated with wood and could not physically do it anymore. It was the dinners that we offered to those who were hungry. It was the ministries that we did with the people of God simply because we wanted to show the love of God out into the world. Driving in the car this morning, I was listening to Joy FM. You all know that. And one of the things that Michelle was saying was that it blows her mind when she thinks that each and every one of us has Christ in us. How do we live the light? How do we let the Christ light shine? So often we get mixed up and bogged down with all the things that life has to be done. But we forget that we're called to be the Christ light, to let that light shine. Ask not what the church can do for you, but ask what you can do for the church, how you can let your Christ light shine, so you can welcome the little children and the lost and the lonely and those that society has pushed aside. Ask how you and this church can be the living, breathing example of the Holy Gospel.